Hey gang, John Baccarelli here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Wednesday, June 5th. Water temperature at Belle Isle is back up to 67 degrees. We were down to 62 degrees last week when we did the report, so it's back up 5 degrees. And it looks like we're going to stabilize now based on the temperatures that are forecasted for the next, at least like the 10-day forecast anyways. So it's been kind of a crazy roller coaster ride on water temps out there, right? Which we talked about in that last report with all the variables that cause it. But now it looks like we're just kind of settle in, and we're maybe slowly climb, but 67 degrees. I don't expect it to get much higher than that. Shoreline's going to be warmer, you know, it always is. But that main flow going down to Belle Isle, which is what we use as kind of the barometer of the overall lake temps, is at 67 degrees right now, which is a really nice, comfortable temperature for basically all of the residents of Lake St. Clair, for all the different fish species. And it's also warming up to keep the mayfly hatch going, and the mayfly hatch has fired back up again big time, up and down the lake, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the report as to what that means. But anyways, the weather forecast going into the weekend looks really good. We got a blow day tomorrow, but it's going to be a westerly wind. So for you guys that are here from out of town, you should still be able to get out and fish, although it's going to be blowing like 15 to and maybe gusting up over 25. But as long as you're staying close to the shore, I mean, it's still fishable. It's not great conditions by any stretch, but I mean, to get out in the middle of the lake, out near the shipping channel, is going to be rolling, and over on that Canadian side, that water is going to be piling up. But you know, still somewhat fishable if you're here from out of town and you have to. You can get out there and hug the shoreline, or you can fish back in marinas and canals and, you know, chase largies, but you'll still be able to get out there. But then after that, looks like it's going to settle down a little bit. Maybe a little bit of rain Saturday afternoon, but it doesn't look like any kind of a washout. And then the winds are going to settle down as well after we get past tomorrow. So doesn't look horrible, looks pretty darn good, looks pretty stable. And with the water temps either stable or slowly rising, that also means fish activity is going to pick up and be a little more predictable. Now, a kind of a word of caution. We had some really strong thunderstorms here just a couple of hours ago, and we had crazy high winds, knocked some trees down, especially in the Metro Park. And when I was driving over the spillway on the way home, there was a lot of debris coming down through the spillway. So a lot of branches and who knows what that got blown into the lake with the winds that we had. We had like 70-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, it really blew. Just so a word of caution, if you guys are launching there out of Crocker when you're coming out, or if you're even just zipping along the shoreline, especially tomorrow with that wind blowing and some chop on the water, really pay attention, because you could have trees and tree branches or anything blown out there into the lake, and it's going to take it a few days for it to all wash down and out of the system. So just use some caution out there. Keep your eyes open for anything that could be floating. Don't need anybody hitting anything and putting a hole in their boat or busting a prop or lower unit or anything like that. So just keep your eyes open. Thought I'd mention that since I saw it. And I was kind of surprised that there was that much stuff in the water that fast coming down the spillway just like a half an hour after the rain, but it was. So we had kind of a gully washer. Shout out to Jacob William, who sent a picture of this beautiful 47-inch muskie that he got out in front of Crocker, trolling for walleyes. You know, out here on St. Clair, a lot of you guys that are trolling walleyes, the muskies are everywhere, and a lot of you guys hook them and land them, and we always see some beauties that are caught by the guys trolling or casting for bass or whatnot. So, you know, you never know what you're going to hook out here in St. Clair. So hats off to Jacob. That was a great fish. Mike Coleman's also been out in that same area, and he's been trolling for muskies out of his kayak. You guys remember Mike usually in the fall likes to cast for him from shore, but lately he's picked up this the bug for the muskies out in his kayak, and so now he's been trolling for him in his kayak, and he got his first muskie in the boat finally just the other day, and then the same day actually caught this big cat, this big kitty out there, and he was I think he was trolling still too when he got that one. So these big cats will eat those musky baits too, which is kind of hilarious. But so that big kitty got a surprise when Mike stuck it to him with the musky rod out there in the boat. But big catfish, man, there's a lot of them out there in front of that spillway. Now, guys like Garrett Samsel love this time of the year because now that muskie season is opened, they can go out there and they can target muskies, they can target walleye, they can target smallies. You've got all those different opportunities out here on St. Clair right now that are going really strong. And so you got just, you've got a ton of opportunities. So even when you're given, maybe bad weather conditions on one end of the lake, you can always change it up and go to another end of the lake as long as you're willing to maybe change up the species you're going after. You can always go out and you can target different species. So don't let just some wind or some differing conditions stop you from getting out there. There's enough different accesses on the lake and enough different opportunities that you can always get out there and you can catch something out there on Lake St. Clair. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Atlantic salmon because I had a chance to talk with one of our customers that's been learning, and we've all kind of been learning about the Atlantics. I don't have any pictures of Atlantics, so if you guys have any great pics, send those in to me this week, and I'll post them up on next week's fishing report. But talking about the Atlantic, so we are all still learning how to catch these fish out here, and predominantly right now they're up there in the North Channel, and they're in there pretty heavy. And I was talking with one of our customers, and I know the guys have been using minnows, but I haven't really gotten into exactly how they were using minnows. And one of the techniques that the guys are using, it's kind of a combination. I'll call it. It's like power drifting, and they're power drifting using slip bobbers. And the reason why they're using the slip bobbers is so that they can very precisely control the depth that they're presenting the minnows down to these Atlantics, because the Atlantics are generally up in the water column, okay? So what they're doing is they're seeing the Atlantics on their electronics, and then they're using the slip bobbers and setting those minnows on the slip bobbers just up above where they're seeing those Atlantics on their electronics. And then they're using their electric trolling motors to keep a nice constant drift with their slip bobbers. So kind of like you guys are doing when you're jigging walleyes, only they're not making contact with the bottom at all. So they're fishing suspended fish up using those slip bobbers and then targeting those targeting those Atlantic salmon that way, and they're being very, very successful doing it. And at the same time that they're fishing those slip bobbers, they're also casting spoons, mep spinners, all different types of baits for the Atlantics, because what they're finding is those Atlantics are blowing up out there on the surface and chasing minnows up to the top, just like the white bass do. And so they're connecting on those Atlantics a lot of times too, throwing spoons or spinners at them as well. So it's kind of a really unique fishery, and guys are still coming up with different techniques on how to catch these fish. I know some guys are trolling for them, trolling like flutter spoons and things, but I really like the idea of catching them using the slip bobber rigs, or even using them with doing something similar over the side of the boat, with like almost fishing it basically with like heavy split shot, and then just setting that depth again. Controlling the depth is going to be critical because you want to stay up above those fish, so because they're going to be feeding up. I mean, the Atlantics are notorious for being, like a surface feeder. They'll eat just about anything, almost like a brown trout off at the surface. They'll eat mayflies. They'll eat just about anything that they can get, lots of different bugs, but they'll also eat minnows and other forage as well. So, but they're definitely like a mid-level to surface feeder when it comes to what they like to do. So anyways, I thought I'd bring that up about the Atlantics. And again, shoot us some pictures if you got some cool Atlantic pics, and we'll try to work them into the next fishing report. But I wanted to bring that up since I had a chance to get some intel on a technique for the Atlantics out there. Now, if you're somebody that loves jumbo perch, you really need to get out right now and take advantage of the perch bite that's been going on out just on the east side of the shipping channels. Okay, so just on the Canadian side of the shipping channel, but not in Canadian water. And there's been hot action going on all the way from down at the dumping grounds all the way up to by the St. Clair Light, and I'm gonna probably say that you can get them. There's another good area just a little bit past the St. Clair Light as well that I'm sure is producing great perch and walleye. So that whole area out there, the 26 can, the 24 can, the corners of the dumping grounds, directly behind the St. Clair Light, they're all been producing limits of beautiful perch and walleyes mixed in as well. A lot of the guys are trolling for walleyes and then switching it up and fishing for perch. Just been some great limits of fish that I've seen come in. pictures that my buddy Jake O'Hara took out there, just kind of showing you the size, the quality of the fish that they're getting out there. Just some beautiful, beautiful perch. And I've heard guys talking, saying that some of the fishing they've experienced rivals what they've done over on Lake Simcoe or over on the Canadian side in the wintertime out in front of St. Luke's that we used to do years ago. So, I mean, that's saying a lot when they're talking about comparing it to what they've done over at Simcoe. So just great quality, great numbers, and great mixed bag along with those walleyes that are out there as well. Let's see now. Talking about perch and talking about mayflies too, right? So, like I said, the mayfly hatch has really been cranking, okay? And if you're out here at the lake at night, you'll see just the mayflies, they're going up, they're doing their thing. The sky the other night almost turned black with them down there. Now, I've been going into the Metro Park on my e-bike, and I've been taking advantage of the mayfly hatch. So the perch fishing that's going on out at the shipping channel and a lot of other fishing that's going on right now is all like increased exponentially by the mayfly hatch. Now, I know that some of you old timers are out there saying, you know, when the mayflies are hatching, you can't catch fish and their bellies are all full and they get this. I've heard all kinds of things growing up, and I've never paid any attention to it because I love the mayfly hatch. So I like to take advantage of the mayfly hatch because it really kind of, as a fisherman, if you're looking at it from a fish's perspective, the mayfly hatch kind of elevates the bite, kind of pun intended, right? Because everything is looking up during the mayfly hatch. Those mayflies are hatching from the bottom. They're coming up to the surface. The fish are either feeding on them as they're coming up, or they're surface feeding, or they're feeding on the spinners after they've mated, laid eggs, and they die and they lay on the surface. The fish eat them at that point. But basically, everything is going up, okay? So whether it's bait fish that are feeding up on those mayflies that are up on the surface, or whether it's other smaller fish that are feeding on them, or whether it's bass that are up there, but the predators, the whole fish community is going to have a certain level of response to the mayflies, and it's all going to be up. It's all going to be towards the surface. So as fishermen, we need to take advantage of that. If you're trolling for walleyes, you should be raising your crankbaits higher, your night crawler harnesses higher. I mean, now within reason, right? If it's a flat, calm day, you're obviously not probably going to have walleyes right up underneath the surface, but then you never know. If there's enough fish activity, they may still be, or enough bait activity up there, they may still be feeding higher in the water column than they normally do because everything is focused up topside. Now, for me, I'd like to take advantage of the mayfly hatch this time of the year because the resident perch populations, not the ones that are out there in the middle of the lake, but all the ones that are localized in all the weed beds all along the shore, and there's a lot of them that stay close to shore all year long, they come in and they feed on the mayflies as well. And I'm down there at the Metro Park, I caught perch in the last couple of days, really quality fish on everything from, I started fishing with flies. I was throwing like was I throwing a woolly bugger? I caught perch. I was trying to just mix it up that I could show you guys that you can catch them from shore right now at this time of the year on a multitude of different things. I caught them on hair jigs, like little pinky jigs. I caught them on little tiny micro cranks. Caught them on little, what are they called, like teeny weeny crawdads, little rebel crayfish cranks down there. So there's all different types of baits that you can use when the fish are focused up on the surface. Since they're up there, you know, you got kind of half the water column eliminated, so you can just focus up topside. You know, if you're a bass fisherman out here right now on St. Clair, one of the baits they use out here right now are like pop-ars. They'll use whopper ploppers. They'll use different types of spooks out there. There's all different types of baits that you can use out there right now to take advantage of that fish activity that's up near the surface. Now, you do need, obviously, if you're going to fish a true top water bait, you need the right conditions to do that effectively, but that doesn't mean that you can't focus your attention higher in the water column. If you're fishing with a drop shot rig, like one of my employees, Hayden, was doing, he was talking about, he noticed that it was much better action for him when he extended that length on his drop shot rig to get his bait up higher, again, because there was so much more activity up higher in the water column. So Pay attention to that right now while the mayfly hatch is going. If it's anything like it was last year, this is going to be probably an elongated hatch period, because if these water temperature stay just kind of moderate in those mid to upper 60s, and maybe we get a cold front thrown in here or there where it dips a little bit, that mayfly hatch could go on for several weeks. And that's going to, once these fish get into a pattern like they did last year, we had phenomenal topwater fishing last year because we had this extended hatch and those fish just got used to feeding on the surface, and it became repetitious, and they just kind of locked in on that pattern, and it was phenomenal. And I'm kind of hoping it's going to do the same thing again this year, because it's a lot of fun catching fish during the mayfly hatch. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Man, I think that's really all I wanted to talk about in this report, but I definitely wanted to talk about that mayfly hatch and how it really impacts everything going on out here on the lake. So if you get a chance with this weekend's weather, get out there, take advantage of the mayflies. Don't be disgusted by them. They can't bite, they can't hurt you. They might get in smelly piles underneath the streetlights and stuff, but they are a very important part of the ecosystem out here on Lake St. Clair, and if you pay attention to them and you use them to your advantage, they will improve your fish catch exponentially. Hey gang, if you like our content, hit the little subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll be notified as soon as we put out new stuff.